Hi, I'm Paul Morgan, project fabricator here at Detroit Speed, and we're here to talk to you about Dave Tucker's 69 Camaro and some of the updates we've done recently. One of the things we did here was modify this cowl induction hood, and we've made it kind of a heat extractor for the radiator. We raised it an inch from what it was. We've basically took two hoods and made one with a little modification. The car's kind of plain Jane, so we tried to do something a little different. One of the things we had to do was raise the cowl induction center by an inch or more to give us some more clearance, and then we've fabricated a closeout piece that got rid of some of the ugly that was hanging out. It's not overzealous, but it should function quite well. So it looks a little cleaner and finished, more of a complete part instead of a really large opening. So it's just trying to make it as clean as possible, subtle, don't want to take your eye away from too much other things. As long as your eye keeps moving, we've done our job. Dave also really wanted the RS grill insert, so we more than were happy to do that for him with our electric headlight door kit that we have, and we've also narrowed and tucked the bumper a little bit just to make it more pleasing to the eye. Dave also really likes our dash insert, so he kind of picked the layout and we ran with that. We've updated the console. Since we raised the tunnel, we had to remount the console in a different position in a different way, and with this piece here I will actually attach the boot to this, and we're already sealed off to the trans with a closeout plate in there. So, and this will be an AC controller. We also had to modify the seat frame, which is normal for when you mini tub or quadrelink one of these here projects, but it's well worth it because it looks just as it did originally. Back here we weren't too busy, but we did do some things to clean it up a little bit. We've narrowed the bumper and got rid of the fastener holes and silicon bronzed all the seams. Dave did request that we had tailpipes that resembled the original 69, so we followed suit with that. We're pretty pleased with the way it came out. And now we can show you that we've mini tubbed it and put a roll cage in it and all that good stuff. We've installed our mini tubs, roll cage, some corner closeouts for the exhaust, and an access panel for our fuel sending unit. So no need to drop the tank to service this vehicle. That's why we make these products for you, so you can also have a serviceable vehicle. And the next time you'll see this will probably be in the body shop.
Hey, Austin Moore here, paint and body specialist here at Detroit Speed. We got Bob's 1969 Corvette. I'll give you some updates on it. Bob's planning on racing the car, so we want to get as much tire under the back as we could. So we went with a 355. So we had to flare the car, put 4-inch flares on it, which we modified because it was still almost not enough clearance in the rear. So modified those, got everything to fit. Now we'll head on over to the front and see what's going on up there. We did a pair of 4-inch flares up front as well to fit the 305s that he's going to run in the front. The whole car's in first stage of primer. It's going to be ready here soon for another coat. We're going to smooth up the engine bay, fill some of the unneeded holes, and get that in primer, and then the car will be ready for paint shortly. After the next stage of primer, the car will be ready for epoxy, and then we'll be putting the PPG Jetstream Blue on it. We're looking forward to showing you, so stop back by when you can.
Hi, I'm Josh Smith, project fabricator at Detroit Speed. Today we're going to give you some updates on Jeff Mosing's Riviera. So under the hood we have fabricated our own air cleaner, a dual snorkel air cleaner that looks sort of factory-like. And we've done this ourselves so it could clear the Holley EFI and the linkage setup that's underneath of it. And we had Matt Hay over in the machine shop. He machined this cool looking cover out of aluminum for us, and it would be chromed. We relocated the oil fill to the valet tray for a cleaner appearance under the hood, and we also took the coils off the valve covers and we moved them to the back of the intake. The reason the coils were moved behind the intake is so we could add to the look of the Buick theme with some custom valve covers to mimic a Buick nail head, and just to clean up the engine bay a little. So let's move to the trunk. Last time I spoke about making closeouts to clean the trunk area up, so I took some sheets of aluminum and bead-rolled and made these cutouts that make everything flow and look pretty cool like that. And also we have this fuel door the fuel fill will be in the trunk, but under this door instead of on the side of the car or the rear of the car. Behind the package tray area, we have a hydraulic pump for the J-Ride hydraulic shock setup. It's still a coilover shock with a hydraulic adjustment on it. It's something new, and this will be the first time that we've used this on a car. And also the plumbing's done, and we've added some 6x9 speakers, a sub, and an amp will also fit behind here. On the inside of the car, we've done a lot of repair work to a lot of the plastic panels for the interior. And as like the console, the factory is plastic. Instead of trying to repair all the broken pieces, we've made our own out of aluminum. We've completely fabricated this whole thing out of aluminum, and it still has the AC and the heat ducts running to the rear. Now I'm going to turn it over to Blake and let him tell you a little bit about what he's done.
Hey, I'm Blake Tomlinson, and I'm here to talk about my part in Jeff Mosing's 65 Riviera. We spent a lot of time on the back end of this car. As you can see, if any of you are at all familiar with a Riviera, you can tell this is a lot different from stock. It starts off with the roll pan on the back of the car. Originally, the bumper came all the way down to the bottom, but we hand built this roll pan here, which included this shape here to get rid of the thickness of the bumper. And this has a doubler on the back side, so it's just the way the factory would have done it, and that doubler on the back side helps to protect the outside material from Audi dents, from rocks getting kicked up. Up here we have the taillights. The taillights were custom designed here at DSE. We 3D printed prototypes, as we often do. The back side of the taillights are also custom, and they are actually completely 3D printed. And LED boards from Digitails, and we made them out of brass, which is very chrome friendly. The bumper was redesigned from stock slightly. We got rid of the bottom section to make it look more slim, more like a blade, like a razor edge, which I think really accentuates the design features on this car. This bumper is handmade out of 20 gauge sheet metal steel, and no longer mounted as a structural bumper would be, but it has some small mounts on the bottom here, so it's very much mounted like a body panel really than a structural member. Any keen-eyed observers that are watching the website closely with our photo updates will notice that this is the second set of photos that have been taken of a bumper being built on this car, and that's because this is the second bumper that's been built for the back of this car. But we can go over here and talk about that more. So this is the first bumper. As you can see, it's a little rough for the wear. This is built the exact same way as the one we have on the car now, sheet metal construction. And we got it finished and sent it off to our plating company, Advanced Plating. And as some of you may also know, they had a really very unfortunate fire there that took almost their entire building. And this bumper was in the fire. They were able to get it back to us, which was in and of itself was a win. But because of the extreme heat and stress on the part and damage, we decided that it wasn't worth trying to rebuild this, and also not fair to the customer. So we decided to just make another one from scratch. The only reason I bring this up, apart from addressing the pictures that are on the internet about both bumpers being built and some questions that might come from that, was also that Advanced Plating is a company that we work pretty closely. We're good friends with Steve Tracy and all his guys at Advanced Plating. We wanted to give them a shout out and a little bit of love, because that's a pretty terrible thing that happens. Your entire livelihood goes up in flames. So if anybody wants to hop on over to Advanced Plating's Facebook page and give them some love, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. So moving on to the front of the car, we'll go see what's next. Before we get to the front of the car, we can't forget to talk about what we've done on the inside. This car is equipped with a 6L90 transmission, and that requires the ability to change gears electronically. So it needed some kind of push button or paddle shift option. Jeff really likes paddle shifters, so that's the direction we went with. And what we did was we bought an aftermarket paddle shift assembly that we then modified to fit on the backside of a wheel that's shrunk down in size but is very stock looking. So this construction here with the stainless is very similar to the way it would have been done from factory, and all these will be chromed in here to look just like an original Riviera steering wheel. The only difference is tucked in behind here are going to be these paddle shifters that'll help us run the CTSV transmission. So here on the front side of the car, we got stuff shaping up pretty good. We have plans for a bumper that's going to be similar to the one in the back, so keep your eye out for that. The dominating feature in the front here is the clamshells, and they're also fully functional. just as the stock ones would have been. And so now that about wraps it up for the front. We can go to the side and show you our last cool piece. So Jeff Mosing wanted side exhausts and cutouts on this car, so that's what we gave him. And in order to clean up the giant hole in the side of the rocker, we decided to make a bezel. As you can see here, this is a 3D printed version of the bezel. It'll mount right here. It'll be made out of stainless, so if it does get any heat, it'll get some nice rainbow effect like stainless does.
Hi, I'm Mark McDonald, project fabricator here at Detroit Speed, and we're going to touch a little bit more on Larry's Boss 302 today. Alright, so you can see we stuck with the stock original color, which is Calypso Coral Orange. Larry wanted to keep the appearance of the car pretty much stock. We're even putting the original Dayglow stripes on the side. The only thing we really did exterior of the body, we flush mounted the glass front and rear, shaved the drip rails, tucked the bumpers, and that's about it on the exterior. So we'll roll around the front and talk about a few more things. Alright, as we talked about before, this engine is pretty special. This is a 400-inch 32 valve AccuFab engine, 2000 Cobra R intake, and a lot of custom goodies internally. But as you can see, we rolled around the same theme, keeping things kind of stock appearing. See, no flashy bolts, everything's original style bolts. The valve covers in the intake, we painted them to mimic the original aluminum valve covers of the Boss 302. You can also see the finned aluminum valve covers and intake plate. Ford blue engine, even down to the power steering pump, we painted it the original color too. Gold fuel rails. It doesn't have a carburetor, but the Holley carburetors were gold, so get gold fuel rails. So it's going to look pretty cool when it's done. So this is a pretty cool item. This is our very first installed Good Guys Product of the Year 6970 Mustang Select to Speed wiper kit. Jason's going to get this thing wired up along with the rest of the car, and I'll switch him over to you and let him tell you about the other things he's got going on.
Hi, I'm Jason EADS, project vehicle assembler here at Detroit Speed, and I'm going to show you what I've been doing with Larry's Boss 302 here. As you can see, we've got our Holley Dominator EFI installed already, and our ignition coil modules. And we've already begun running the harnesses for the ECU to have it communicate to our Ford modular motor. We use the American Autowire update kit as our beginning point for the main electronics, so the main electrical for the car. And then from there we'll build whatever harnesses and construct what we need for it to work for the modern day electrical that we're going to put in here in the ECUs. At this point we've finished the wiring harness from the firewall backwards, and we're currently working on the dashboard and everything forward of the engine. And we're going to, any of their splices, any of our connections, we're using Deutsch connectors, and we're going to have two really nice bulkhead connectors to be able to detach the engine and transmission separately from the main engine harness, and that'll make serviceability and diagnosis and any future updates very easy to do. Here we have our nearly completed engine and transmission harnesses that will plug into the individual connectors in the firewall. And everything is separated out, and oxygen sensors and transmission, and then we got our fuel injection and our coils, and every connector is individual and marked in their own way, so that way they'll, no matter what, they'll plug into the proper locations and cannot be confused. Okay, I'm going to finish up the wiring on this car, and pretty soon we'll be ready to fire that up.
Hey, it's me again. I'm here with Craig Hardy's 69 Camaro convertible. We're going to do the wrap-up video, kind of go around and explain the whole project as if we had never done that before, and so let's get started. So the biggest thing on the car that's most noticeable is the hood. The hood on this car, we wanted to do something a little bit different. We had a really nice rendering from Ben Hermance, and he made a wider cowl hood that wasn't very tall. So what that turned into is we scratch built the hood, the cowl, in the back area, all from scratch, and fitted onto a stock hood frame to get this tiny little rise here, but really broad, so we can get these big vents in here. The vents are all 3D printed. That was a new thing for us when we started doing that, so there was a learning curve there. We learned a lot of cool stuff in the process. And same thing with these vents here that kind of make everything look more aggressive and kind of modern looking. RS headlights and a tucked aluminum bumper that was kind of standard with all of our builds now, or all our Camaro builds. Everyone likes the tuck bumpers. In the middle of the car, we had to come up with something pretty wild because it's convertible and everyone's going to see it because the top's always going to be down. So again, Ben Hermance, our rendering artist for this project, came through and came up with some really wild stuff. And another element we had to deal with was the only seat that this customer could fit in, because his torso is so tall, was these really utilitarian racing seats. So we had to figure out how to get these aluminum racing seats that look like they came out of a sprint car to work in this, what's supposed to be a finished Camaro interior. So that was a pretty tall task that we gave Wayne and Pam at M&M Hot Rod Interiors. But they came through with flying colors, and as you can see, they're really edgy, very modern looking interior, and we're very happy with how it came out. This is a steel fabricated dash cover that we fabricated here. We're really not ever happy with the foam ones. They never fit right, they never look right. So we just went ahead and bit the bullet and made one here and changed the shape a little bit so it's not quite as bold as the stock one. But we think that kind of helps balance the looks on the outside of the car on the inside. On the other side of the interior, we've got the roll bar. I think I told you in another video that this was a Fox body roll bar. So Wayne and Pam, they went ahead and reupholstered this and changed the shape of it in some spots to get it to fit a little tighter to the upholstery that we built. And we also have this hand-built aluminum convertible top cover that we made. That was a little bit tricky because it's such an odd shape, but it really does help to kind of clean up the awkwardness that's always there whenever you have a convertible top down. So another thing we did is we changed the geometry on one of the arms of the top frame, convertible top frame, so that we could get this top lower when it was down. And I think it sits about an inch lower, maybe 2 inches lower than stock, roughly. And that also helps with the looks big time. Along the side of the car, we've got our staple BF Goodrich Rival G-Force tire. You can see for SEMA, BF Goodrich hooked us up with these super rad white stickers that you can go on your tires, and you too can have some of those. We also have our Forge Line wheels painted white to match the body, super 80s style. We've got our bright orange Bear brakes, the 6Rs, the big ones. 3D printed quarter vents, fully functional. The function is they look rad. The door handles on this car were designed for this car. The customer wanted something that was smooth along the door. We didn't like any of the options on the market, so we went ahead and designed our own, machined it in-house. Again, Ben Hermance designed that, the initial design from our input. And so we really like how that turned out. We put them on a couple cars now. And another thing on the side of this car is the mirrors, which come from a 70 Cutlass Deluxe. And we really like how it's got that little bead, that little sharp bead that comes around the front of it that kind of matches all the sharpness of a 69 Camaro. In typical Detroit Speed fashion, all the guys here did a bang up job under the hood. You see we went with the classic Chevy orange paint on the engine block, make it look real traditional. This engine is an LS7. It's got heads, cam, it's got a fast intake, all smoothed over to look real nice and clean. Our wiring guy did a bang up job, as he always does, making the harness look very nice and neat underneath the hood. Our Profab headers looking great, turning a little bit of gold after a few runs now. I like that. The bottom side of the hood, you can see bottom side of the handmade hood there, but also the underside of the 3D printed vents there. It's kind of a neat little touch. So this wraps up our update of Craig Hardy's 69 Camaro convertible. We hope you love it, and we hope you look forward to our next update. But wait, there's more! Sometimes when we do these videos, it takes a little bit longer than expected to get them out. And I know in the last segment that we did on the Riviera, I mentioned that we were going to start on the front bumper. And I was able to make a little bit of progress since then, so we couldn't let this video roll out without including it. So as you see, the front bumper on this car really changes the look of the car, and we're all very excited in the shop to see it to get to this stage. You also notice that the car is sitting on the ground pretty close to ride height right now, and that's also very exciting because we all love to see a very low Riviera. The front bumper on this car is made out of 20 gauge sheet metal, as I said, 20 gauge steel, and the ends are hammer formed over custom made bucks here that we make here and designed to fit the car. And also the centers are rolled in the English wheel and fit very tight, as you can see. So this is the update, for the bonus update for the 65 Riviera, and next time you see this car, it'll be over in paint.